Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Marie. I am here to share with you all of my tried and trues, my experiences from having worked as a chef, recipes that I think you might enjoy, and everything in between. I'm very new at this. I'm not even sure if this will work out, but I'm trying, and I apologize for my glasses. I am blind as a bat without them, so I hope you'll bear with. The recipe that I wanted to share with you today was for classic English scones. Now, classic English scones are something everyone enjoys. You might call them scones, you might call them scones. I call them scones because that's just what I've always done. There is no right or wrong way to pronounce it. Just pronounce it the way that feels comfortable to you. Now, classic English scones are something that you might see served at any tea room or tea party over in the UK. They're light, they're fluffy. These ones are fruited, which means they have raisins in them. Sometimes you might see currants in them. These ones have raisins. They're beautiful, served with nice hot cups of tea, jam, English cream, or normal cream. Oh, how I miss clotted cream. Over in the UK, if you were to go to a cream tea, you would be served cups of tea, or a pot of freshly brewed tea, some traditional scones, a pot of clotted cream, some fruit jam to spread on it, and a little pot of butter. That's what a cream tea is. So today I'm going to make classic English scones, and I hope that you will come along with me. Now I'm going to have to adjust my camera a bit so that you can see what I'm doing here on the table. So bear with, won't be long. There, hopefully you can see that now. Okay, what I have here, this is what you'll need to make your scones. I've got 2.5 cups or 350 grams of self-raising flour. Now, self-raising flour might not be something you can get where you live, but it's very easy to make your own. For each cup of flour, simply add 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So for this recipe, with it being 2.5 cups of flour, you would need, let's see, 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, in addition to the self-raising flour, you will need 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm going to put that in there. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 5 1/2 teaspoons of cold butter. Now, I'm going to just mix this up, and then I'm going to go and get my cold butter from the fridge. I left it there so that it wouldn't be too hot when I went to start. So this is my 5 1/2 tablespoons of cold butter. That's the equivalent of 75 grams. So I'm just going to drop my butter into my bowl, like so. I might cut them up into slightly smaller bits. That would be a little bit easier, I think. So there it is, into smaller bits. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub this butter into the flour using the tips of my fingers. Now you can do that like that with a slight snapping motion, raising your flour and lifting it as you go. You want to do this until you want to do this quickly, and you want to do it until the flour and butter resemble fine dry breadcrumbs. Just work quickly, lifting it up and rubbing as you go, snapping your fingers. Rub, rub, rub. This is something that I've made quite a lot of. Quite often now, because I live on my own, I will make a half a recipe, and I'm happy to share with you the quantities for half a recipe if you wish. But today I'm making the full recipe. And this will give you, approximately 10 beautiful, light, flaky scones. So as you can see, I'm rubbing the butter in, trying to work as quickly as I can because I don't want the butter to melt. you want the butter to stay cold, because if it stays cold, it'll create little air pockets in the scones. So I'm rubbing and I'm rubbing and I'm rubbing. You know, I loved living in the UK, and one of the things I really loved about being in the UK was cream teas. I don't drink normal tea per se because I'm a Latter-day Saint, but I do love a nice cup of herbal tea. And I did really love to go to the tea rooms and have a cup of herbal tea and a nice scone with some clotted cream and jam. One of the nicest cream teas I went to was down in Devon, but of course, Devon and Cornwall, for that matter, are places that really pride themselves on their cream teas, and they have some of the best clotted cream in the country. Clotted cream is not something that's readily available here in Canada, and I don't think it is in the United States. You can get it in some places, but it's very, very pricey. It is one of the things that I really miss from living in the UK. It's a very, very thick cream that's created by warming natural cream to a certain temperature, and it's left overnight to clot, which means become thick, and it forms sort of a buttery crust on top. Oh, there's nothing nicer. It's really, really lovely. So I'm still continuing to rub the butter into my flour. Here we go. I'm almost ready to go. Just a few more little bits. I hope you're having a nice day where you are today. It's very hot and humid here in Nova Scotia, Canada. But that's August, July and August. They are hot and humid months. I have my heat pump on, which is keeping it cool and comfortable in here. Okay, I think we're pretty much ready to go. Now, once you've got all the butter rubbed into your flour, you want to add, this is superfine sugar or caster sugar, 2½ tablespoons. Don't worry if you don't have caster sugar. You can use ordinary granulated sugar, but you can also make your own caster sugar by processing granulated sugar in a food processor until it's a bit finer. As well as that, I'm adding a ½ cup of sultana raisins. I'm just going to stir those in. If you don't like raisins, just leave them out. You could add cranberries if you like dried cranberries. Any dried fruit I think would be good, but these ones have raisins today. That's what I'm using. Let's see. Now, you will need 2 large eggs. So these will need to be beaten. Is this what I was going to use the eggs for? I think. Anyways, these will need to be beaten with a fork, which I'm going to do now. I like to use free-range eggs if I can, but that's because I don't want to support an industry where they use caged hens to produce eggs. Use whatever eggs that you're comfortable using. For me, it's free-range. So beat those up until they're beaten together. Sorry for any noise this might make. And then you'll want to reserve about 2 tablespoons for the end. So I think that's 2 tablespoons. Next, you'll want to beat those eggs into 2/3 of a cup of milk, which is approximately 150 mils. So I've got that beaten in there. Combine. Put that aside. Now, you want to pour this into the flour. Don't add all of it at once, just in case. You don't want your dough to be very sticky. So I'm adding it in, and I'm using a butter knife or a dinner knife, round bladed knife, to kind of mix the milk and egg into the flour. And I'm going to do this until I get a dough that's soft but slightly tacky. You don't want your dough to be dry, but you don't want it to be super wet either. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I have it all in. Like I said, you might not need it all. Some days I do, some days I don't. I think today is going to be one of those days where I'm going to need it all. Yep, here we go. Here's some more. My brother's been working tirelessly on my blog, The English Kitchen, and he thinks he may have cracked it. So hopefully, with any luck, the blog will be back up and running before the end of the day. I have my fingers crossed, and I hope you do too. Okay, one tiny bit of milk and egg here left. Let's see. Yes, I'm gonna need this extra little bit here. There, I've used it all. Now, once you've got that all in there, you can slightly pull it together with your hands to make a bit of a soft dough. Like I said, the dough should be slightly tacky, but not wet and not dry. So you'll want to dust your work surface here with a bit of flour and put your dough, turn your dough out onto the lightly floured surface. Oh my, I am still getting used to this. It's not easy. Anyways, I've got it, here it is. Now, the important thing when making scones is you don't want to overwork the dough. But you will do with this now is just gently pat it out to about 1 inch in thickness, which is what I'm doing now. I actually think my cutter that I have here is a bit too large to get 10 scones. So what I'm going to do, poke that raisin back in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exchange, I've got a 3-inch cutter here and I think I need a smaller one. Just a minute. Oh, I can't get it because the drawer's pegged shut by the camera. Okay, well I won't quite get 10 scones out of this, but you will if you use a 2-inch cutter. Today I'm using a 3-inch cutter. Now, one thing to remember when you're cutting out your scones is not to twist the cutter when you're cutting them, if that makes sense. You want to tap down firmly and pull it straight up without twisting. And then pop your scone onto a baking sheet. Just continue to do this until you've got them all cut out. Now, the reason you don't want to twist your cutter when you're cutting them is because doing so will cause your scones to rise unevenly. Somebody's messaging me. Anyways, sorry about that. So just keep cutting straight up and down and placing your scones spaced apart on your baking sheet. Yes, oh yeah, I have a baking sheet that I've lined with greaseproof paper, or baking parchment as it's also called. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm really looking forward to enjoying a nice hot scone at the end of this with some cream and some jam, a nice cup of tea. You want to try to get as many cuts out of this first patting out as you can, because the scones that you go to cut, like at the end you can re-roll the scraps and cut more scones, but they're not going to be near as nice as the ones that you've gotten from the first cutting. So here I am mixing my scraps back together, patting it out again, and cutting out a few more. One. Those ones won't, they're not going to be as pretty to look at. Oh, Anyhow, they'll still taste good. So here we go. That's all I'm going to do for now. Okay, let me just move some of this aside and I'll show you my baking sheet. And you'll find out what I reserved that beaten egg for. So here's my baking sheet. And I've got the scones. You want to place them enough apart that they have room to rise without really touching each other. Now, oh, I need my pastry brush. Okay, so this is what you want to use the reserved beaten egg for. You're going to brush a little bit of that on the top of each scone. Now be careful not to let it drip down the sides, because if you let the beaten egg drip down the sides, it will hamper the rise of your scones, and we really want these to rise as much as possible. So just keep doing that until you've got them all glazed. This is called glazing them. Sometimes you can add like a little sprinkle of sugar on top, which gives them an extra little bit of sparkle. But today I'm just going to use this egg glaze. Boy, I'm looking forward to these. There, all glazed and ready to go in the oven. And they go 425 or 220 degrees, 425 Fahrenheit, 220 degrees centigrade. And they'll be in there for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to serve them. And here they are, my scones, fresh out of the oven. As you can see, they've risen really nicely. Got a nice rise to them. They're nice and golden brown on top, golden brown on the bottom. This is one of the ones that I cut from the extra cuts, and as you can see, it's not quite as nice as the ones that weren't. So I'm going to enjoy one now with my cup of tea. St. David's herbal tea. This is, I think it's called the nutty one. Anyways, what a beautiful pink color, and it tastes delicious. Now, let's see, which one am I going to enjoy? They all look good, and they're still fairly warm. So I've got a scone here on my plate. Now, I've got some butter, some strawberry jam, because I like strawberry jam, and some English double cream. This is the English double cream I bought. I bought it at my local Sobeys store, and it's lovely and thick. Very close to clotted cream, I would say. If you can get that and you're in North America, I say try it. Now, pardon my paper napkin. As a person who had to start alone with nothing several years ago, I don't really have a lot of the niceties such as cloth napkins and such, but I'm doing okay, and I'm enjoying my life. Okay, so here's my scone. Let's open it up and see what it looks like inside. Look at that. You can see the steam still rising from it. Isn't that lovely? Beautiful texture. Put those on my plate. And you don't have to do this, but I like to do this. I'm going to just spread a little bit of butter on each while it's warm, while they're warm. I know, I'm a glutton. It's not like I'm not gonna have cream on them, right? I have to have butter too. Anyhow, so there's a great debate in the UK as to whether you put the cream first on the scone or you put the jam first. I think wars have been fought on that same topic, and a lot of that depends on where exactly you're from. I'm from the cream first, jam second school, because I like to think that that cream is going to cradle the jam and keep it in place, not so that it doesn't slide off. So there I go. I'm going to put some cream on my scone. Oh, and I'm going to put some on this half too. Oh my, doesn't this look decadent? we go. Okay. And then a little dab of jam. Whoops, I better lift that up so I don't spill it. A little dab of jam right in the middle there. Spread it out a little bit. I love strawberry jam. It's probably one of my favorite things. When we were children, my mother used to make freezer jam with strawberries in the summer. And one of the biggest treats in the winter would be when Mom cracked open a jar of her freezer jam and spooned it over vanilla ice cream for dessert. So there we have it. A beautiful scone with some cream and some jam. Ooh, let's see. I'm going to tilt you back up again so you can watch me enjoy this, just to torture you a tiny bit. Okay, let's see. I'm going in for a bite. How will it be? Oh boy, that is so good. That tastes exactly like something that you'd find in a tea room over in the UK. I really, really like that. Now what am I going to do with 9 more scones? I guess I'll have to either give them away or eat them. Well, I could freeze them. What do you think? Anyways, thank you so much for visiting with me again today and watching me make these scones. I will leave all the measurements down in the section below. I hope that you'll want to try them. That I haven't put you off or anything. I know that I look a little bit different than my picture that I shared a few weeks back on my Facebook page. That was just a game that I was playing, trying to figure out a new hairstyle. I'd love to have hair like that. I really would. But I'm stuck with this salt and pepper. I might go and have it dyed gray. What do you think? Do you think I'd look good with that? Anyways, thank you so much for being here with me today, for watching me go through this video. And I would appreciate it very much if you would like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below. Every time you like, subscribe, or comment, it helps for other people to be able to see what I'm sharing. And that helps me. I really, really appreciate it. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you have any advice to give, I'm happy to take it on board. As you can see, this time you're seeing my face, you're not seeing my cleavage, and my cats are locked up in the back room. So there you go. I am open to advice. And I'm sorry that my glasses seem to be taking on this light too much. Anyhow, thank you very much for visiting with me today. Do like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you again on here real soon with something else that's tasty to cook and eat. And in the meantime, as I always say, don't forget, God loves you, and I do too.